Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Wes Decker, and this is my co-host, Mr. Fever Blister. He wasn't exactly invited, but he's made his presence known and is clearly intent on sticking around. I'm pretty sure it's just my body reacting to Justin Bieber not winning a Grammy Award on Sunday. And I was all ready too. If the Biebs had won, I had something special planned for you with this, my singing Bieber toothbrush. But thanks to the Recording Academy's unhealthy obsession with Adele, we all miss out. One moment that I thoroughly enjoyed from the Grammys, though, came when 21 Pilots won their award for Best Pop Duo or Group Performance and accepted in their underwear. In honor of their act of liberation, I strongly considered implementing that dress code on the show this week and actually wearing these for you. Did I say something about an unhealthy obsession earlier? How much mileage can I get out of those? Hey, I'm clearly not myself. I'm under the influence of Mr. Fever Blister. Coming up on the show, every one of the winter sports is covered in one form or fashion before we're through. There's indoor track and field, hockey, boys and girls basketball, and we start with the odyssey that was the North Hagerstown run to the State Dual Championship semifinals. Andy Mason joins me for a look back at wrestling and a county tourney look ahead when you come back.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny. To shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
I saw what Dr. Eklund was doing, and I was pretty confident he could help me. I had 20 teeth extracted and 20 implants placed in the same day. I'm extremely happy with the results. I feel great. You forget the confidence, how you eat, how you smile. It's been amazing, and I'm confident that he would do wonders for them as well.
Here at Potomac Dental Center, it's more than just teeth. We give people back their lives.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue now with wrestling, and in particular, North Hagerstown trying to make a run for the State Dual Meet Championship. They were in the region duels as of last Wednesday. And Andy, good to see you.
Good seeing you.
We were both there for that, down at Lansdowne. Yeah. And North, as expected, defeated Lansdowne, and then got the opportunity to avenge a regular season loss to Oakdale.
Yeah, Oakdale, the defending region champ, beat North Hagerstown 39-27. You know, a nice 12-point win just 3 weeks earlier, but North came out and looked like a different team. Beat them 33-29 to win their third region title in the last 4 years. If you look at that first match, and Coach Greg Slick talked about this after the match, you know, they lost 3 one-point decisions in that match, which made a huge difference. 2 of those guys, Ryan Montez started the bout at 182, followed by Umar Murshidinov, hope I pronounced that right, at 195. Both those guys were 2 of the kids who lost by 1 point. They faced the same kids, you know, to start the match off, and they both won decisions, got North off to a 6-0 lead, avenged their bouts, and it just, you know, that was a great start for North. And then, you know, they just kept winning. Brian Stewart got his pin at 126. Then Oakdale comes back. Next thing we know, it's 30-29, 1 bout left, and we couldn't have asked for a better finish. Aaron Brooks versus Logan McCoy, 2 guys who met for the state title at 138 last year. Here they are at 170. They're both a lot bigger, but a lot stronger. Last year, Brooks beat McCoy 3-1 for that title. It was their 4th time they wrestled last year. All 4 close decisions, all won by Brooks. This year, Brooks is on an entirely different level, wins 15-2. North wins the title. It's a great finish. And off to state duels.
Yeah, and if you're North Hagerstown, you couldn't pick a better closer to win that particular match and pick up the title.
Oh, yeah. You send out Brooks or Stewart. I mean, doesn't matter who they send out, you're getting the win.
And North had gotten a big break because one of Oakdale's wrestlers was injured against Franklin in the other semifinal, had to be taken to the hospital, so Oakdale had to give away 6 points there via a forfeit. 6 important points, as it turned out. Yeah,
well, you know, that kid who was taken, he was a good wrestler. He lost to North, I believe, to Tyler Cook by decision the first time they met. Who knows where they would have matched up this time, but Yeah, unfortunate. Didn't have a fighting chance. Oakdale actually forfeited at 2 weights, heavyweight and 113. They haven't had. I don't think they've had a heavyweight all year, so that wasn't a surprise. But yes, you don't like to give away 12 points.
And that seemed to be the last break that North Hagerstown would get in terms of trying to capture a state duals title, because on Saturday at North Point High School against Damascus, down 1 bout to none, Caleb Corbin on the mat for North Hagerstown, thinking that they're going to come away with points in a bout where he's up 5-2 in the second period, and then the most bizarre of circumstances suddenly rear their ugly head.
Yeah, I mean, the ref, he was disqualified for biting, an alleged bite.
Yeah, and there's no way to tell from the video whether that actually happened. But some of the things that we looked at, just the reactions of the two wrestlers, almost leads you to believe that
it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's biggest bout of the kid's life, biggest, in the state semifinals. North had no margin for error. They didn't just need a win from Corbin there. They needed bonus points.
Right.
Instead of leaving that match maybe up 6-4, they're down 10 to -3 because of they lost 3 team points for flagrant misconduct. Just a real shame. I don't know what happened. I've seen videos. My guess is, he shouldn't have been called for that, but
and my point is this. I'll just say this. If you're a referee in a bout like that, I just don't know how, unless you see that happen with your very own eyes, how you can go on the circumstantial evidence of another wrestler saying, hey, look what I've got on my arm. So that referee doesn't make the call right away.
If you and I go roll around on the floor, my arm might get in your mouth, and
if very well can happen.
That can anything. That's probably what happened. But
maybe we should have tried that before we came on, just to see just what the possibilities of that are. But then the referee calls over the other referee. They look at it, they make a determination, and as you said,
it's a serious call.
Man,
and Corbin is a senior. He cannot compete in the Washington County tournament this weekend because of that happened. And we still, Tuesday now, by the time you're watching this, there might be an answer, but we don't know if that might end his season or not. Don't know if he's going to be allowed to wrestle at regions. To wrestle at regions, you have to be entered in the county tournament. So he can't wrestle at the county tournament, but maybe he can enter and then forfeit out. I've talked to a number of different people about that. No one at this point knows what the answer is. Yeah, it's a real shame.
It's horrible. I mean, here's a kid who has 30 wins this season. Member of the National Honor Society, upstanding citizen, great student, a captain of the North Hagerstown Wrestling. Obviously, the coaches, his teammates trust him, and then that is a real black eye on this season at this point. And again, as you said, North just not able to get it done as a team, though. Damascus winds up winning 10 of the bouts to just 4 wins.
Yeah, so that wasn't North. So North's down. Well, they were down 10 to -3, but there were still. There were still 12 bouts left.
Right.
They weren't far from mathematically eliminated, but looking at who was coming up, I mean, they were in a big hole, and they couldn't get out of it. And even if Corbin wins there, my guess is, looking at how those matchups played out, North wasn't going to win. But you just never know because there's momentum and anything can, you just never know. But
And North had done everything it could in terms of moving kids around to weight classes and everything else to try to find the favorable matchups. But
but in the end, they only won 4-14.
Yeah.
So Damascus, proved, and if Corbin wins, then they win 9 of 14. So Damascus, then they beat Glen Elg for their 5th straight state title. Just an amazing run.
Well, very quickly, 27th Annual County Wrestling Tournament, as you alluded to, coming up this Saturday. Just 3 returning champions coming back. Stewart and Brooks for North Hagerstown, Jeffrey Henline for Boonesboro. And then we have 8 returning runners-up from last year who are back. Should be a very interesting tournament overall, but certainly North Hagerstown 3-time defending
they're not going to have. They're not
favorites.
going to have Caleb Corbin, a kid who is probably going to win a county title. But they're so far above anyone else in the county. I think they're going to win their 4th straight county title without much problem. The interesting thing is, the last few years it's been North, Williamsport, and then everyone else pretty far back. This year, I think all the other 4 teams all have legitimate chances to get 2nd place.
And this being this is where we lock in weight classes from here on out.
Yeah, you have until Thursday at 5 p.m. That's the cutoff. So at this point, I'm not exactly sure where everyone's going to be. I can tell you there are 3 clear-cut favorites. Wherever Brooks is, 160 or 170, he's going to win. Stewart at 120 or 126, he's going to win. Shane Havermael from Smithsburg, 106 or 113, he's going to win. Probably King Pombo from South at 285. I see him winning. The other 10 weight classes, wide open. You just can't say that this guy's definitely going to win.
Well, should be.
So it should be real interesting.
Yeah, and hopefully interesting for all the right reasons. Andy, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Wes.
I'll be back right after this. Boys basketball with Kevin Dunleavy when you return. Labor's Office Furniture now has a large selection of in-stock FlexSteel home furnishings. After 43 years of establishing itself as the place to find top brand office furniture at warehouse prices, great deals on FlexSteel home furnishings have come home to Labor's. Stop in to see Labor's FlexSteel inventory today.
When it comes to hearing loss, who will be taking care of you? Audiologist Dr. Karen Hamilton is Hagerstown's hearing doctor, working to improve the quality of life for those with hearing loss. At Audiology Services, Dr. Hamilton focuses on evaluation and diagnosis to provide solutions for treating hearing loss. Using the latest technology, she programs hearing aids to meet your unique needs and ensures they fit properly and comfortably. Audiology Services participates with most insurance companies and will check benefits and file claims on your behalf. Dr. Hamilton and her team also serve the community through Hagerstown Hearing, which focuses on providing crystal clear sound in places such as theaters, churches, offices, and homes. Hagerstown Hearing installs looping systems that allows those with hearing loss to enjoy speech clarity and noise reduction, providing an experience like never before. To learn more about Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, call 301-790-3300. Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, providing crystal clear sound.
Welcome back to the show. We continue with boys basketball now, and I'm joined by Herald Mail insider Kevin Dunleavy. Kevin, let's go back to last Thursday to start, which was a big game in the county with Clear Spring coming in on a 4-game winning streak against Williamsport hosting the Blazers with a 3-game winning streak. Before the night was over, Williamsport wins it 62-46, and for me, the key to that game was Williamsport jumping out to an 11-0 lead. Very tough for Clear Spring to get back into it from there because Williamsport, in my mind, played one of their best games of the year. I mean, 5 of their first 6 baskets were assisted. It seemed like they were sharing the basketball a lot, and they were really hitting the glass against Clear Spring. Didn't really give the Blazers much of a chance. They had to play catch-up all night long.
Yeah, and that score told me a lot because I expected that game to be very competitive.
Marquil Nelson was red hot early for Williamsport, but again, they really spread the scoring around. And Clear Spring responded after falling behind by that 11-0 margin. They scored the next 7 points, but Williamsport would stifle Clear Spring's offense seemingly all night. Every time they started to make a run, it seemed like they would knock down a 3-pointer. The first time it was Jake Arnone in the second quarter with a big 3. Then Caleb Yost, a guy that you don't expect to hit a 3-pointer, makes a big one later in the game. They get one from Caleb Bowers about midway through the third quarter. And then by the time Nick Evans hit one late in the third quarter, it put Williamsport up by 5 at that point, and they were well on their way. Then they kind of lived on the interior after that. And I walked away from Williamsport on Thursday thinking, well, this is a team who's got it going at the right time again, knocking off a Clear Spring team that I heard them say during the course of the game, you know, we worked too hard not to play better in this game. And I think they did as it went along, but it was that poor start that really hurt them. But then Williamsport goes out the very next night, and I know it's tough to play back-to-back, but they go to Walkersville, lose to a team that they had beaten pretty handily earlier in the season.
Yeah, I think you mentioned so many names talking about Clear Spring that played for Williamsport, and that's part of the problem. They've got 11 guys in their rotation right now, and some of them are coming back off of injuries, and it's just a tough deal to get that rotation set and get everybody, get the chemistry going. And I think they're still battling that even this late in the year.
Yeah, they've got a lot of guys who can contribute, but again, Coach Grable just trying to find the right combination at the right time. And I think if he can, they can certainly click and can go a long way here come the postseason. And as for Clear Spring, certainly no shame ever losing at Williamsport, a game that can only make them better, you would think, in the long run.
Yeah, and Clear Spring, Williamsport definitely has a big depth edge on them. Yeah. Once you fall down, to a Williamsport, it's really tough because you're climbing back against a team that has that many players that they rotate in is very difficult.
On Friday night at Boonesboro, it was kind of the opposite of the matchup from Thursday. We had 2 losing streaks going head-to-head coming in with Smithsburg visiting. Boonesboro wins 68-50. I was amazed at the ease at which the Warriors were able to do that. But how hot was Tyshawn Hanna?
Yeah, he had, I think when the game was 10 minutes old, he already had 21 points. That's amazing, and he hadn't missed a shot at that point. We've seen this from him all year, and he can score in so many ways. Really good outside shooter, but he also takes the ball to the bucket and he gets to line so often. I wish we had some stats on his free throws, but I bet he's shot more free throws than anybody in the county. But the big thing about Friday night is that they rebounded. They had 2 rebounds to every one that Smithsburg got, and that was the big key to the game. And whenever you do that, and they turned that around from North Hagerstown earlier in the week. They had lost to them, and they got out-rebounded 2-1. So it was a real mindset game for them in that they really attacked the boards. All 3 of their front court guys had at least 8 rebounds. So that was a real team effort. And that's the first thing Tyshawn Hanna said when I talked to him after the game.
Yeah, and even with Hanna scoring 31, they still spread the scoring around a great deal. I thought Bryce Rogers, the point guard, played the best game that I've seen him play all around this season. I mean, starting with defense early in the game, and then he had a run in the third quarter where I think he scored 7 consecutive points. He looked very good. And picking up his scoring is something he has to do a little bit with Logan Saunders out right now. Over on the Smithsburg side, they get half their scoring from Cameron Cutchy, but outside of that, nobody else really contributed. Davon Bay-Wade had 11 points, but they didn't get much from Kirby Linnaeus. They didn't get much from Ryan Bywaters. And when Smithsburg doesn't have all those guys contributing to putting points on the board, they're in a lot of trouble because the team can focus in on, say, like a Cutchy. And even if he scores that many points, it's not going to lead to a loss for the team trying to defend them.
Yeah, they're having a crazy season. They had won 7 in a row at one point. Now they've lost 4 in a row. Some of those losses have come to teams they beat during their winning streak. So, they're still figuring it out too.
Yeah, crazy season of streaks for Smithsburg. So they start the season with 2 consecutive wins, 7 losses in a row, 7 straight wins, and now currently 4 losses in a row. Not exactly the way you want to be headed toward the postseason. Boonesboro on the other side, can we look at them and say that if they put together an effort like that, that's good enough to beat anybody in 1A?
The funny thing about Boonesboro is that they play really well in certain games, in a lot of big games. They won their own tournament, beating difficult teams. They've beaten Williamsport twice. They've got a lot of potential, and so much of that depends on how hot Tyshawn Hanna is. But as we saw Friday night, if he gets a lot of help and those rest of the supporting cast is really hustling and doing the things on the boards that they need to do, that they can be very dangerous. They look like they might be the best team in the county Friday night.
Yeah, and again, that's one glimpse at a team. We know how that's gone so far this season. Playoff brackets will be revealed next Tuesday, and we'll talk about them on the show. Kevin, thanks for being here this week.
Thank you, Wes.
I'll be back right after this. Girls basketball is our next subject. Got Bob Parsaliti here in just a moment.
Tony's Pizza in Williamsport has had the same simple philosophy since 1985. Start with simple products. Sauce from the best Italian tomatoes. The best cheese and dough made fresh every day. Then mix those with a great atmosphere, and you'll have the best dining experience you can find. Tony's is known for their pasta dishes, subs, pizzas, and specialty items like their Nutella Dots and the famous Crazy Tony. Simply put, they want to give the best food they can give to their customers. So stop in today to Tony's Pizza in Williamsport.
Labor's Office Furniture now has a large selection of in-stock FlexSteel home furnishings. After 43 years of establishing itself as the place to find top-brand office furniture at warehouse prices, great deals on FlexSteel home furnishings have come home to Labor's. Stop in to see Labor's FlexSteel inventory today.
Life's expensive. You've got your home, your car, maybe a family, and now you're thinking about earning your degree. At Kaplan University, we get it. When it comes to the cost of your education, every bit helps. That's why we created Tuition Cap. It's a program that sets the maximum amount you'll pay for college. Once you meet the cap, the rest of your degree is free. That's right, free. That adds up to a 33% savings off the full tuition. It's all part of our promise to make college more affordable. Learn how you can save with Kaplan University's Tuition Cap program at 1-866-KAPLAN-4.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We continue with girls basketball now, and I'm joined by Herald Mail insider Bob Parsaliti. Welcome back to the show, Bob.
Thanks for having me on.
A couple of games that I sort of set up last week. Let's run through the results on those.
Sure.
A little show and tell here, starting with Smithsburg's win over Boonesboro, 55-52. It was a game of surges by both teams, and you could say in the end, Smithsburg perhaps made it a little closer than it should have been, but Boonesboro truly never gave up in that game. 3-point final there, but for Smithsburg, the key was just getting the win.
Well, with Boonesboro, they spent the entire game counterpunching. I mean, they ran up there and they fell behind by a little bit, and then they get back within like 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden Smithsburg goes on a flurry of about 4 or 5 points, and then all of a sudden they come back and they get within 1. I mean, they never led again, but they were always right there knocking on the door, and they really didn't get bothered by Smithsburg's pressure, which has been Smithsburg's trademark the entire year, until the third quarter. There was a small stretch in the third quarter where they kind of fell apart. I don't know if it was tired, I don't know what it was, but they just lost whatever was carrying them through, and then all of a sudden it forced them to have that flurry in the fourth quarter. The thing that I kind of thought was interesting, though, is there's a saying that teams that press don't like to be pressed, and Smithsburg really had trouble when Boonesboro went all-out man on them. They made a lot of mistakes, especially in the backcourt, and allowed Boonesboro to get back into the game.
And for a game that turned out to be decided by one possession in the end, as it turned out, Smithsburg took a 5-4 lead, and as you said, they never trailed after that. Boonesboro continuously trying to play catch-up, but it was that stretch in the third quarter where Smithsburg opened up the 41-28 lead. They got the upper hand on Boonesboro, and Boonesboro had to chase in the fourth quarter. But what did we learn from these two teams in that game, aside from the fact that, again, Smithsburg, a team that loves to press, generates a lot of offense out of that, but perhaps isn't that great at attacking the press?
Well, on the Boonesboro side, I'll start with, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a microcosm of their entire season, because it's been a roller coaster ride. They get up a couple of games in the record, and all of a sudden they fall back down, and then they go back up, and then they go back down, and that's what this game was. I mean, it was all ups and downs. They played very well in spots. In that fourth quarter, the last 9 minutes of the game, Ellie Conley really stepped up for them, made some big shots they needed badly. Sarah Michael-John made some nice plays early to keep them in the game. On the press, that man-to-man press, Caitlin Rogers was in there, causing all kinds of havoc. So they do things well, but they're they're still a young team, and they're still learning things. And there were points in there where I was watching and talked to Sam Conley afterwards, and we talked about it, and they're still learning. You look at the Smithsburg side. You're sitting there waiting for them to really, really break loose. I mean, that game against Clear Spring earlier in the week, they scored 70 points. That's a big game for them. But they were sort of challenged. Like I said, they did just enough to stay ahead, but they didn't put their foot on Boonesboro's throat and say, this is it,
And I think that's the thing that's frustrating to Coach Chip Bakedale right now. When is that going to happen? It needs to happen soon, obviously, with the playoffs coming up starting next week. Speaking of which, big playoff implications Saturday night. So we mentioned this game a couple of weeks back, Walkersville at Williamsport, a couple of one-loss teams in the 2A classification, Section 1. Walkersville wins the game 43-32, a long list of things that just didn't go the Wildcats' way, and it all started less than 2 minutes in when Caitlin Murphy, who has been red hot from three-point range of late for Williamsport, was injured. Turns out that it's a partially torn labrum, so she is probably finished for the rest of the year. And this just further complicates the difficulties for Coach Kevin Murphy in terms of what to do with that team now, because you lose a senior and a player who had been opening up a lot of space for Aaron McVicker by hitting shots from the outside.
Well, that's the big thing. I mean, if you look at Williamsport's run last year, it was outside shooting. They had a presence on the inside at center, and then they had McVicker controlling it. So they were able to pull a lot of strings to get a lot of people open. Well, this year they don't have the 6'3" center. And then you look at, they lose Kate Wade, who was the shooter. Well, Caitlin Murphy was starting to fall into that range. And she did, ever since about around the Hedgesville game, first Hedgesville game, maybe 1 or 2 back, she was starting to get into her groove and starting to hit jumper, the long jumpers and really making it, and that's what was going to open them up. Now, you don't have the inside, you don't have the outside. All anybody has to do is just, and I think this is what happened in Walkersville, with Walkersville. After Caitlin went out, they didn't have anybody that can shoot consistently outside, so they put a campfire up in the zone or in the under the basket and said, beat us.
And conversely, Walkersville was very good from three-point range. They had the shooters. Murphy, incidentally, 19 threes in the last 7 games coming into that one. 36 threes on the season compared to 21 by all other Lady Wildcats. And including Saturday, she'd been 20 for her last 49. That's 41% from three-point range. Again, basketball, not a one-person game, but it is a game of matchups. And with Caitlin Murphy out, this just, again, makes it much more difficult for Williamsport heading toward the postseason. One other note I wanted to mention, this was kind of breaking news last Tuesday as we were taping here. Larry Lorschball stepping down at Grace Academy as head coach.
Yeah, has this ongoing battle with cancer, and he's back battling again. And I know a few times when I talked to him, he had mentioned that he was thinking of stepping down because just, things not going well and all that. And then when this came around, I guess, it was more a case that he had to because he didn't have the stamina to go through an entire game. Yeah. So Larry's one of the good guys. He does it for all the right reasons, coaching them. He loves to win.
Right.
And, hopefully he'll continue winning, and someday he may be back.
Yeah, and hopefully he wins in this battle of all battles, the one that certainly rages on. We wish him the very best. Bob, thanks for being here this week.
Thanks a lot.
I'll be back right after this. I've got indoor track and hockey. We'll wrap those up for you in just a moment.
Champions are not merely born, they're forged in the crucible that is flag football. With equal parts turf, pigskin, and heart. That's why Buffalo Wild Wings donates to boys and girls clubs across the country to not only help thousands of kids learn about teamwork on and off the field, but to help them fulfill their destiny, to shred defensive lines, terrorize the secondary, and emerge bonded as true champions.
At Hagerstown Ford, we charge less, period. We're the largest Ford store in the tri-state area. #1 for only one reason. We charge less, period. Hagerstown Ford delivers. We'll bring your new ride to you and do the whole deal sitting at your kitchen table. Easy peasy. Get more for your trade, easy on-the-spot financing, and the lowest prices on the East Coast guaranteed. And if we can't beat their deal, we'll buy that car for you. Hagerstown Ford, we charge less, period.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. The State Indoor Track and Field Championships will be decided this week at the Prince George's Sports and Learning Complex in Hyattsville. In addition to the 79 county athletes who will compete for 1A and 2A gold on Monday, 16 from the county qualified last Thursday at the Baltimore Armory for the right to go for 3A gold on Tuesday. 8 girls will represent the county, led by the West Region's 3,200 champion, South Hagerstown sophomore Emily Alexander. While Alexander is one of 2 Rebels who will be making the trip, North Hagerstown sends 6, highlighted by junior hurdler Jordan Morris. Like the girls, the boys also qualified 8 for the season finale. North's contingent consists of 4. The Hub's region title-winning 4x800 meter relay team of Ben Gazzola, Sage Vipond, Nate Neely, and Brandon Gassaway. The junior Gassaway will also compete in the 3,200. And South captured 4 spots too, with region championship winning junior Nate Harrison Moore aspiring to better his 4th place finish at states last year in the high jump. He'll be joined by county high jump title holder, fellow junior Kathon McDonald. The 1 and 2A state championship meets start Monday morning at 11 for Boonesboro, Clear Spring, Hancock, Smithsburg, and Williamsport. And the 3A competition featuring North and South Hagerstown commences at 4 on Tuesday afternoon. Last Monday night, the postseason for the Washington County North Stars started and ended. In the opening round of the Monocacy Cup playoffs, the North Stars pulled even at 1 in the first period with Carroll County, but Washington County would not score again. Ironically, it was the North Stars goalie of a year ago, Jack Perna, who turned aside 19 of their 20 shots as Carroll County eliminated the North Stars 6-1. Washington County finished its 2016-17 season with an overall record of 8-7-1. So as the games, matches, and meets become fewer, the importance of them becomes greater. Next week, we get into full playoff mode with a look at the postseason basketball pairings In addition, show and tell regarding the county wrestling champions and indoor track and field state champs in sight and sound. That's all next time. Thanks for watching this time, and I'll see you then on the inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets.